Hey, what's up guys? Xiaomi has released two mid-range smartphones in this year's Mi 8 lineup. First there was the Mi 8 SE a few months ago, and now there's the Mi 8 Lite. It's a bit confusing, so what's the difference and why should you consider this one? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and this is our Xiaomi Mi 8 Lite review. From a design standpoint, the Mi 8 Lite is pretty much what you'd expect to see from a current smartphone. It's made from glass panels on the front and back. It's seamless where the flat back meets the chrome-colored aluminum frame. However, there is a bit of a sharp edge where the frame meets the front glass. Our Mi 8 Lite is in black, though when it catches the light it seems more like a dark gray. The fingerprint reader is rear-mounted, and as you'd expect from Xiaomi, it's blazing fast and consistent. We didn't see a face unlock option though. The rather tall and flat design might turn off some people with small hands. One-handed use is difficult, especially with this slippery glass. There is a transparent silicone case included though, which can add some amount of grip. There is no IP rating against water and dust, so be careful around the pool. The display of the Mi 8 Lite is a 6.26-inch IPS LCD with a tall aspect ratio and a 1080p resolution. It does have a notch, but it's narrower than the one on the Mi 8 SE. You can hide it if you don't want to look at it. That said, there is some backlight bleed around the notch, and it makes the black bar look a bit grayish at certain angles. As far as the panel itself goes, it's decent. Content looks nice at 403 ppi, nothing out of the ordinary or too fancy. We measured 468 nits of max brightness, not the best result out there, but just enough to make content on the screen readable outdoors. Just try to avoid direct sunlight where it struggles. And as far as color reproduction goes, standard mode is way more accurate than the automatic mode, which is a bit bluish. The trade-off of standard is that the maximum brightness will be lower in this setting. For audio, the Mi 8 SE has a single bottom-firing speaker next to the USB-C port. It gets pretty loud, earning a very good score in our loudness tests. If you plug in headphones, you'll need a USB-C to 3.5mm adapter, since the phone doesn't have an audio jack. Luckily, Xiaomi includes an adapter in the box. Sound through headphones is good, with loud volume and decent overall performance. Stereo separation isn't the best we've heard though. You shouldn't have an issue storing plenty of music or other media on this phone. It has either 64 or 128 gigs of internal storage, as well as support for microSD. The Mi 8 Lite runs Android 8.1 Oreo, with Xiaomi's custom MIUI 9.6 on top. Everything is kept on the home screen. There's no option for an app drawer here. To the left is the App Vault, which gives shortcuts to frequently used apps, along with things like Mi Notes and Calendar. Swiping down from anywhere on the home screen will bring down the notification shade, so you don't have to stretch your thumb all the way up to the top. If you want, you can use gesture-based navigation too. It works quite well, comparable to Apple's iOS gestures. Swipe up and hold for the recent apps menu, and swiping from the left edge or the right one works as a back button. Swiping from the bottom of the screen takes you back to home. The security app can scan your phone, as well as giving management options for your other apps. And there's a notification LED, so you know when you need to turn on and check your phone. The Mi 8 Lite runs on a Qualcomm Snapdragon 660 chipset with either 4 or 6 gigs of RAM. In benchmarks, it performs quite well, on par with other mid-range phones running this chip. However, it is a bit of a step down from the Mi 8 SE, which has a Snapdragon 710. Overall, battery life on the Mi 8 Lite is about average. The Snapdragon 660 isn't known for great power efficiency, and together with a 3350 mAh battery, the phone scored an endurance rating of 77 hours in our proprietary tests. There is support for Quick Charge 3, but there's only a 10-watt charger included, which got us from 0 to 36% charge in half an hour. A proper QC3 charger would get you more than 50% in that same amount of time. The Mi 8 Lite carries a main 12-megapixel camera with an f1.9 aperture, without OIS. There's also a 5-megapixel camera used only for depth sensing. It's a bit familiar, as it's the same camera setup we saw on the more expensive Mi 8 SE. And just like there, daylight shots look alright. They're nothing mind-blowing, but they're perfectly fine for the average user. The dynamic range is pretty limited, but the HDR function does help with that quite a bit. However, the auto HDR doesn't always kick in when it should. Luckily, if you turn on the AI camera option, it will take the reins and adjust the HDR for you. However, it also adds its own flavor of oversaturated colors when it recognizes a scene. In portrait mode, shots are a mixed bag. Some of them turn out to be pretty good. But if the background is busy at all, the algorithms have a hard time with edge detection. In low light, the Mi 8 Lite performs just as you'd expect at this price point, kind of poorly. There is quite a bit of noise, and the lack of OIS means you better have a steady hand to avoid a blurry image. Leaving the AI turned on does help with the noise suppression artifacts though. The Mi 8 Lite's front-facing shooter has a higher resolution than the Mi 8 SE's, at 24 megapixels. Overall, performance is better, quite nice in fact. However, it has fixed focus. The sweet spot is less than a full arm's length. Holding it closer or farther takes its toll on sharpness. The bokeh effect works pretty well though. The Mi 8 Lite can capture video at up to 4K at 30 FPS. The overall quality is a bit underwhelming. There's good sharpness, but it lacks contrast, and there's some visible noise. There is electronic stabilization in both 1080p and in 4K. In 1080 it works well. But in the higher resolution, the EIS doesn't seem to be doing all that much. So that's the Xiaomi Mi 8 Lite. You get a solid glass build, good performance with the Snapdragon 660 and 4K video recording. Compared to the more expensive Mi 8 SE, you do lose out on the AMOLED screen and the power of a Snapdragon 710, but you do get a bigger screen on this one. My overall impression of this phone is about average. All around, its features don't impress, but they'll get you through the day. This includes the screen, the battery life, the speaker, and the camera experience. And for around $250 there are other options out there, some even cheaper. But regardless, the Mi 8 SE is still a good choice if you want a reliable phone on a budget with nothing too flashy. If its price was just a little bit more competitive, it would earn our full recommendation. Thanks for watching. Hit like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And you're always welcome to stop by gsmarina.com for our tech news and reviews, and for the full test findings for the Mi 8 Lite. See ya!